Well, I hope you got to enjoy some of that sunshine we saw yesterday because, much like we've been seeing through this week with the back and forth with the weather, we're going to have a bit of a mess out here, especially in the western half of the United States and the Rockies because of an atmospheric river that's bringing pretty heavy rainfall and has been through the west coast. But what that means is vorticity crossing the Rockies, bringing a system here to the Northland, and we're actually seeing some of the impacts this morning. And it's not just in the form of that cloud cover, but also a little bit of flurry action. Most of it has passed on through Spooner and Hayward. We still have a bit up here around Big Fork and International Falls, as well as making its way towards the Iron Range. But it is because the rare sites in Duluth, a little bit further out, is not always necessarily making it to the surface. But I do suspect we do have some flurries making its way to the surface, though not too much of accumulation. Now, the rain chances are going to pick up as we get later into the day. The showers become a bit more robust. The coverage also a bit more widespread, but it is going to be transitioning into rain because of the more warmer temperatures we're going to be seeing once we start to head into that afternoon. I see a bit of a break once we start to head into the evening overnight hours, though I suspect a bit more rain for the UP during that time frame. And then as we look here with a cold front passing through as we start heading into Friday, we're going to continue to see a bit more shower action, not just in the form of rain, but see that blue, we're seeing a bit of that snow as well. And the pink is actually a bit of a mix of rain and some snow. So we're starting to see a bit more of the snow chances improve as we start to head into Friday, especially if we're going to be along the South Shore, as we're going to have lake enhancement thanks to that northerly flow. Now let's look at our longer range forecast as we go into the weekend, because we're going to have a drier Saturday, but once we start heading late Saturday going into Sunday, more showers are likely to start making their way on through, primarily for northern Minnesota and parts of northwest Wisconsin into the UP, and that does again include that South Shore where we're going to have some lake effect snow pick up again. And when it comes to snow accumulations, overall we're not going to see much, maybe a half an inch in some spots in northern Minnesota, but because of that lake enhancement, we can actually see up to an inch, maybe a bit more in some of the higher elevation areas along the South Shore. So that goes from parts of Ashland County all the way through the UP. So something to keep an eye on. But again, even if we do see a decent amount of snow, still going to only be an inch, maybe a little bit more than that. But it's pretty exciting. We're at that time of year, we're really excited to start seeing that snow. At least I hope everyone's excited. That's one of the fun things we have about winter. And now let's look at the temperatures. Another fun thing about winter is the colder weather. Now today, not going to be too chilly. We're going to be into the lower 50s as you get into northwest Wisconsin and areas south along the I-35 corridor. Once we get into northern Minnesota, a little bit cooler, a lot of us staying in the 40s, maybe some spots here and there staying in the upper 30s. And as we see the winds, you can see why it's a little bit more mild further south, especially as we get into northwest Wisconsin. Those southerly winds going to be picked up a bit more, bringing a little bit more of those mild temperatures on up. But as we pull forward this, because a cold front passing through on Friday, they're going to be shifting out of the north. And then once again, kind of like today, going to be very breezy, but 20-mile-per-hour gusts or more will be possible. So it's definitely not going to be calm outside. And we're looking here the weekend, because we're going to have another cold front move through. That's going to bring more northerly flow through the Northland, and all of this northerly flow is going to do something, and what that do is bring down some cold air out of Canada. So even though today we're going to be closer to seasonal, if not maybe a little bit on the mild side with those temperatures, as we start heading into the weekend, a cold air mass really going to sink right on down into the heart of the United States. And it's going to bring us here in the Northland around 10 degrees below the seasonal average. That means by Saturday, and especially Sunday, we could be seeing those temperatures around freezing for highs across the Northland, and maybe some spots staying below freezing, especially as we get into northern Minnesota. So it is going to feel quite chilly, especially because we've been seeing pretty mild conditions through much of this fall so far. And we're looking at the low temperatures, going to be quite chilly as well. Many of us going to see those temperatures dipping down into the teens, maybe a few spots here and there getting into the single digits, something to keep an eye out for. But as quickly as that cold air came right on in, it's going to make its way on out of here as we start to head into next week. And we get a look at that. That means by the time we get to Tuesday, we're not going to be very warm, obviously. I mean, we're getting into November now, but we're probably seeing many of us start to get into those 40s once again as we get into next week. So a bit more on the mild side. And if we look at our 7-day forecast, the next week as well, you can see a bit of rain around Tuesday, Wednesday. Not great confidence, but something to keep an eye out for. But in the meantime, we're going to see more shower chances heading into the weekend, and we're also going to see those temperatures really drop on down.